Hey guys, some people quite naturally will be a bit confused when it comes to completing one of these comparison tables, especially since we've gone through what we call a classification activity up here, and then I'm asking you to compare based on the categories that you've developed yourself, which we'll also call commonalities for the sake of this exercise. So I want you to imagine that you've gone through step one and you've listed 15 random words that relate to the evaluations we've just studied. And then you've highlighted like the word that starts with A, the word that starts with G, and the word that starts with L in one color because they all remind you of one key theme. And then the word that starts with D, the word that starts with N, and the word that starts with T in another color because they remind you of a different theme. Okay? So once you've done the highlighting, you go along and you say, oh, well, this is what A, G, and L have in common. And you do that with all the other colors you've got. Then we basically reword these so we can compare them. So here we might say something like, these all have something to do with the self. And, oh, well, when we're talking about the cogito, we don't really talk about the cogito from the point of view of the self. We more or less talk about the subject. So my reworded commonality is going to be the subject. Then I would go along and I'd put the subject right here, along with the three other favorite commonalities that I've identified and reworded, and I put them here. Now, this is where people would naturally get confused because they may not have done a comparison table before. Now what I do is I have a look at all these different evaluations and I think about what they have that's unique when thinking about the subject, because that's going to be the difference. So in the circular evaluation, we know that according to the circular evaluation, thinking must occur at the same time for that the subject occurs in order for thinking and the subject to be. In other words, they have to occur simultaneously. There can't be one before the other. So, of course, if you believe in some kind of causation, ontological causation, maybe you think one has to exist before the other exists, and that's a problem. Circular arguments might not prove anything to you. But basically, that's what I think is unique about this argument when it comes to the subject. With this tautological evaluation, I think what I think is unique is that the subject implies the predicate, mainly in this argument here, i.e. the subject implies thinking. So I wrote that down. Now I do the same for this, and I do the same for that, I do the same for this, of course. But I'm just trying to rush through and make a short video for you. Of course, we all know Hume has one radical difference. He denies the subject really exists. The subject is not really there until we reflect on the idea of the self. We're not aware of our thoughts, or more importantly, when we think we're aware of the thought, but not the fact that we are performing the thought. All right? So, they're the differences. And then we go ahead and here we have what we call a a similarity between two particular evaluations. So I said circular and tautological evaluations require this subject to exist, whereas quite down here, I'd say, I think the same might be said about Bertrand Russell's criticism as well, that basically Hume and Bertrand Russell question the nature of the subject as essential for thinking, right? And so I've got two similarities between two arguments, and bang, I've done what I'm supposed to do. Now, of course, I go through and I do the same for the commonality of dualism and the commonality of their essence, and that's what I would do. Okay, cheers.